Hi, Serena.
Hi, how are
I,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. This is just making my day being able to talk with you and interview you.
Me too, for sure.
So I've known you for a very, very, very long time. And my first question that I want everyone listening to understand is you're an expert in mindfulness and mindful living and presence, and you've been helping all different kinds of people. I want to know, why do you care so much about mindfulness and this body of work?
Okay, wow, that's a big one. So I care so much about mindfulness and um, this body of work because, it's changed my life and it's changed the lives of many people. And it really wakes you up to living your life right now versus living it yesterday or living it tomorrow. So, that being said, mindfulness is about being aware of what's happening in the present moment and also being able to have an appropriate response to whatever's happening in the present moment and approaching it, the present moment, with curiosity and kindness and compassion as well. So, it's about being here now, because where else could you actually be?
Oh my gosh, you just said so many valuable points. Our mind, unfortunately, for people that don't have this ongoing practice and the rituals that you have, our mind takes us back, is zooming us forward, is having these thousands and thousands of thoughts a day, right? I like to use the term monkey mind of all of it. So you said being aware of the present moment, and then also having an appropriate response is so extremely valuable, whether you're parenting, whether you're working with your colleagues, you're leading a team, your spouse, your parents, like all of these, the different things that are happening politically, all these different things that are happening around. Can you tell me a little bit about that in terms of, for your own life, on how it's supported you with appropriate response?
Yeah, for sure. So I like to say that mindfulness is dose dependent. So dose dependent in medicine means, well, if you have to take your medicine in order to feel better. So mindfulness is dose dependent, and the more you do it, the more you feel it, the more effective it is. And so that being said, I take it very seriously. It's as if I have to sleep every night. So for me, doing this practice is I have to do it every day. Just like I have to sleep every night, I have to drink water every day, I have to eat every day. Because when I don't do it, there are ripple effects in my life. And I can feel that every day. So that being said, the question was, how is it?
Yeah, we're connected with having appropriate responses to external events or things happening in your life.
Right. In order to have those appropriate responses, I have to actually sit and do this practice every day. And that appropriate response is noticing if I'm like off balance, or if I'm dysregulated, or if I have some sort of response to something a reaction to something that is not appropriate. So, for example, I have two children, 7 and 10, and children can push our buttons for all of us that are parents. And so they push them all day long. I mean, even for someone who practices mindfulness, the buttons get pushed all day long. And so I know when I'm feeling dysregulated, if one of my children has pushed one of my buttons, for example, I can feel it from here down. Like, where is it happening? I can feel maybe my heart's racing, or my throat is getting tight, or like I'm just starting to feel angry. And so when I start to feel that, and I am training myself to feel that by doing these mindfulness practices, I am understanding that some of these responses show up in the body way before I can catch them here. And so I'm training myself to catch them, whether they're happening here or here. And I can say, hey, like, don't go into your, fight, flight, or freeze mode. Like, just stop, take a breath, observe what is happening in your body or in your mind, and then proceed with the skillful action. So if I can catch myself in that moment of being triggered to whatever is happening, to any external stimuli, my children, the traffic, being late to a meeting, somebody saying something that is so not cool at a meeting or whatever, I can catch myself and formulate an appropriate response. I can respond versus react.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm thinking in connecting this with the science of happiness. Obviously, it's connected with spiritual well-being, right? Of mindfulness and presence and quiet. Physical well-being, right? Your physical body, and then your psychological well-being, and then also relational well-being, whether it be relationship with your kids, your spouse, your team, the people you're leading, your boss, that pausing and observing and then proceeding with with intention and, not that just knee-jerk reaction, really supports you in so many different areas of your well-being. So a lot of the people that listen to this show and who are part of my community are leaders of teams. They are very, very busy themselves, achieving large goals. They have a lot of strategies that they're working on, and then they're leading these other human beings. So how come you think leaders should prioritize mindfulness and really take it seriously? Just like you said, you take it as seriously as sleeping.
Wow. Well, that's a great question. I think we're all leaders. So I think all of us are leaders. I'm leading, for example, at any given moment, my family, my students, someone I'm working with, a client. So I think all of us are leaders, and anyone can benefit from this practice, from a young child to a senior.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in charge of a team or someone else's productivity or their well-being in relation to their productivity, you have to be able to take care of yourself and your own emotions, and you have to be able to regulate in order to help somebody else regulate. So in order for your team to thrive and be productive, you have to be able to provide that kind of safe space for that to happen, for that unfolding. I like to say, another thing that I like to say is, like, for example, we can talk about a caregiver, and we can even think of a leader as kind of like a caregiver.
Absolutely. Yes.
So yeah. So if you're caring for someone and, they're drowning, but you don't know how to swim, how are you going to save someone from drowning if you don't know how to swim? And so by kind of like being able to swim and being able to not only swim, but you got to be an Olympic, racer,
Mm-hmm.
you can then go ahead and save everybody else. So yeah, a leader, we're all like, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the piece, so I teach and work with leadership groups on creating a culture of caring, because all the research shows when people feel cared for, they are going to be more loyal. They're going to be more motivated and collaborative and productive and, stay connected. And when you said safe space, I think of, this is Google's research on the highest performing teams have psychological safety. Psychological safety means that the space is safe and people can show up as their authentic, real selves. They don't have this, work mask. And, you can't have a safe space if the leader isn't, creating that environment. I'm kind of going backwards, but then also when you said about, taking care of self, in my book, Be Happy Leader, my first step is it starts with you. So if you as a leader don't have skills and practices, skills and practices, to have these appropriate reactions and to pause. And, I'm sure everyone listening, I've worked with people that have freaked out, or all of a sudden, it's just like erratic behavior, or something happens and all of a sudden they're really angry. And of course that ripples to the whole team, to the whole organization. And, so yeah, no, I definitely think that you answered. So a lot of people that I talk to, because I'm not at all an expert like you, but I definitely communicate that the power of meditation and why people should do it. And I always talk about it. And something I hear a lot, and tell me if you hear this too, I hear of like, gosh, I don't have the time where, I'm supposed to exercise. I'm supposed to get, this, this, I got to play with my kids. I got to, this is okay. Where do you find the time? So how would you answer that question if there's, a busy executive, or I know you work with doctors, like people that are just really, really busy on where do I fit this in? How do I make it a priority?
Absolutely. It's a super good question. So and I know we're going to talk about this. I teach this 8-week mindfulness class called MBSR, but we'll talk about that. But so in this class, we ask our students, and these can be, some of these have been professors at universities. They've been, they work on Wall Street. So many different types of people have taken these classes, and they all face this challenge. Where do I fit this in? How can I find the time? I have kids. I have, a more than full-time job. I have to commute. Where can I possibly fit this in? So we challenge them to say, hey, you're going to experiment, and you're going to say, like, this is a matter of your well-being, and this is really super duper important. Try it and you will see the effects of it, and you'll find a way to fit it in whatever works for you. And it doesn't have to be an hour. So let's bring that, that challenge down. It doesn't have to be an hour or 2 hours. Like, we're not, trying monks in training. We are normal, regular people trying to just make life work with lots going on, families, jobs. It can be 5 minutes at your lunch break. It can be 5 minutes in the morning. It can be 10 minutes at night before you go to sleep, but just start with that 5 minutes. And if you can't do 5 minutes, start with one. For me, start. Yes. So for me, I will give you my example. I have 2 kids. I'm very busy, and what I do, and if I don't do this, it doesn't work. I wake up earlier than everybody else in my house every day without fail to do this practice, because if I don't do it, everybody knows, hey, she didn't do it today, because I can tell by the way she's acting. Mom didn't meditate.
So how long do you meditate before your family wakes up?
So I like to do 30 to 45 minutes every morning. And then if I'm lucky, and if I really am going at my, my to-dos very well, and I've gotten myself kind of down, or if I'm feeling that after lunchtime lull, that kind of 3 p.m., I will do it again. And I will do it again for 5, 10, 15 minutes. And after I do that, it is the most restorative kind of feeling for the rest of the day. Like, okay, I can handle everything else that I have to do.
I love that. Because so many people will go, I don't know, grab a Diet Coke or something of but having a 5, 10 minute or 15-minute restorative.
Right.
So your message is realistic for everybody listening. It's start with 5 minutes, if you can work up to 10, 15, 20, you're at the 30 or 45 point, but just starting. And okay, so you touch base on the 8-week MBSR. So tell us what it is and the benefits. And I want you to talk about the gray matter. I'd like to tell us everything about this.
Sure. So mindfulness-based stress reduction is an 8-week intensive mindfulness training program. It was started in 1979 by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn, who is a champion in this field, at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. And what he did was he called over to the University of Massachusetts Medical School doctors and was like, send me over any patients to my stress reduction clinic that you haven't been able to help. And they ended up sending over people who were dealing with chronic pain. And he put them through this 8-week program that he created, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And after they went through this program, they were found to it didn't cure their chronic pain. So it didn't take the pain away, but it gave them great coping mechanisms to be able to deal with that pain. And so that's very huge, because if you think about it, if you're someone who's dealing with chronic pain or any kind of issue, coping mechanisms are super important for you to be able to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For you to be able to put your own life vest on.
Mm-hmm.
So MBSR has been found to help people with so many different things. It's been found to help people with pain, anxiety, depression, insomnia. It's been found to have a positive effect on your immune system and your overall happiness. It's been found to help with sleep. It's been found to help with your moods. It's been found to help with all sorts of things that people experience in life, whether they're health related, physically, emotionally, spiritually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if someone listening is interested and they say, okay, I'm interested in this, like I have high stress, I'm depressed, and I also got pain. What does this look like?
So
what would they do?
I teach the program, and at the moment I teach it on Zoom, virtually to anyone in the world who really wants to take it, but you can find it anywhere. And I'm not saying take it with me, I'm saying find it, because it works. And there's been tons of research on it from all sorts of, for cancer patients, for regular, just, mothers experiencing anxiety, to leaders, to anybody can benefit. But so what it is it's an 8-week program, and the classes take place every week for 8 weeks, once a week, 2.5-hour class. And the requirement is you have to engage in practice every day for 8 weeks. And obviously the day of the class doesn't count, but you have to engage in practice every day for 8 weeks. And the practice is what the teacher gives you. It's what the research has been done on. And the practice is those mindfulness practices that are time tested, that this research has been done on, that has been shown to increase the gray matter in your brain over time during 8 weeks. And this gray matter is something that decreases as we age over time. But this program has been shown through fMRIs. We can see that the gray matter has increased over those 8 weeks in your brain. So that higher executive function.
I was just going to say, why should people care about increasing gray matter? It's that you just answered it, the higher executive function. Yeah. Not the opposite of the fight or flight, where it's just reactionary.
Yes.
It's that pausing and that, okay. What would you say to someone who would actually like to bring mindfulness into their team or into their organization? This is such a great option for an individual, and I guess a whole team could do it together. But throughout the last few years, I've definitely seen an increase of people talking about, oh, my company had a mindfulness class, or and so, which is great that there's more of that coming. But what about if there's, I'm going to say, an evolved leader that actually wants to have mindfulness practice as a team? Would you say, is that a good idea? And if so, how could a leader go about sort of having this as part of their work rhythm with their team?
I think it's a great idea. And it is super, super needed right now, and super, super important. So how can someone go about this? I had recently a school approach me, and they wanted a mindfulness program for the teachers and the staff.
Yeah.
And teachers are experiencing high stress right now, of course, along with leaders, along with doctors, along with parents. So I designed a 5-part workshop that wasn't MBSR, but it was kind of an extraction of MBSR, because we know maybe they can't commit to 8 weeks right now, but maybe they want to start to understand, like, what is it that this is all about, and how is it going to help us? And so there are ways to bring mindfulness into an organization by customizing some of these programs for whatever it is that the organization is looking for.
Because when I meditate alone in my home. I don't do it with other people. But of course I know that there are group and even collective meditations and prayers, even like around the world, right? Of like healing. You could do this as a team over Zoom, or you could do this all sitting together quietly and do it together as well, right?
Totally. I'm so glad you asked that, because one of my favorite meditation teachers says meditation is a team sport. He's a guy on the 10% Happier app named Matthew Hepburn, who I just love. But anyway, he calls it a team sport. And the reason why I say that is because in my 8-week class, I usually have anywhere from 8 to 20 people taking the class. And we do practice together for those 2.5 hours. There's a big element of practice. We practice together in some way, whether it's a meditation or a body scan or a walking meditation, some sort of practice. And then we come together and we unpack what happened in that practice. Not what happened yesterday in the practice or what's going to happen tomorrow, but what happened right now in that practice. And then everyone starts to talk about their experience. And then you end up seeing that you're not alone in your experience. So this person felt that way. Oh, I can talk about it because I felt that way too. So you really see that you are not alone in your experience and that you're not really that different from somebody else. It's super helpful to meditate together and even at home, for example. I do it with my children. If the two of them are getting kind of like feisty with each other or ornery, or there's some issue, I will sit them down and we will do it together, because I don't have my students at home, but I do have my children. So at home, my team is me and my kids. Out in the working world, it's whoever it is that wants to do it.
Right. I think that's so awesome. So what is your opinion on all of these apps? And there's been an explosion of apps recently. You hear about Headspace or Calm or Insight Timer, and you probably know a lot more. As you are an expert in this, what are your thoughts? Are those helpful for people that just want to start, let's say with the 5 minutes a day, they just want to start? Do you think it is more advantageous to just sit quietly? What are your thoughts on the technology that's connected to this?
It's such a good question, Tia. My suggestion to anyone that asks about apps is please begin with like a program or a live teacher. If you can. Of course, if you just cannot, of course, there's no harm in trying one of these apps, but there is no substitute to a live teacher. And live doesn't have to be in person, because I know that can be a challenge right now.
Right.
But there is no substitute for like a live teacher, I think, especially as a beginner. Now, if you have absolutely no way to do that, if there's just no option for that, absolutely go in and try it and see how it lands for you, and it could be that you find someone that you connect with through those apps and
have this regular teacher that right.
If you can, go for it. Just go for it. It's dose dependent, remember. So just do it.
I haven't heard that before, and I'm going to remember that forever. And what are the benefits or disadvantages of sitting quietly versus listening to a guided meditation, whether it's live, whether it's an app, versus sitting and you're not listening to anyone and you're just receiving, you're in complete quiet?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. So everyone is different. Everyone has their preferences. Some people really want to listen to guidance because when they try to sit quietly, and especially as a beginner, it can be more challenging to try to sit quietly when you, for example, you're new and you haven't really, there's different types of meditations. There's different types of, they can be guided visualizations, they can be awareness of breath meditations or body scans or, choiceless awareness. There's so many different types. So I think in the beginning, it's super helpful to have some guidance, especially if you're completely new.
Right.
Yeah.
And then eventually you can as
Right.
you have more practice and as you said, that level of comfort. Because yeah, there is, and I've heard a lot of comments about this where they were like, I can't sit quietly for 5-10 minutes, there's like a discomfort with it for people that are brand new. So that makes sense of kind of starting with the guided, ideally start with live. So then you have that building and then use that.
Can I make a comment about what you said?
Sure.
Okay. So you're saying, yeah, totally. People have this discomfort with sitting quietly for 5 minutes or however long. I like to give this example. And you said earlier, monkey mind. So I like to think of it as puppy dog mind. So when we get a puppy, everyone's seen a puppy, they're super cute, they're playful, but they end up doing puppy-like things. Like they'll pee on the rug, they'll chew the shoes, they're naughty. And then and when you see that kind of puppy, you don't forget how cute they are. I mean, you can't, you take a look and you're just like in love, but you have to keep reminding them, hey, don't chew on the rug. Hey, don't pee on the carpet. And you keep bringing them back. So every time they're up to no good, you kind of bring them back and you do it gently with love and with kindness. And so I like to think of our mind as a puppy dog, because the mind is not ever going to be quiet. My mind is not ever quiet. I'm sure a monk who's been meditating for 20 years is not completely quiet all the time. And that's not the goal of meditation. And that's one super important thing that people, I think, struggle with in the beginning, especially. We don't need to be completely quiet. We're not trying to stop our thoughts. We're just allowing them to come and
noticing them. I think it's like just noticing them versus feeling that they're reality.
Yes. And noticing them, versus feeling that they're reality. And every time we notice that, we're off in like la la land. We're off at the grocery store, off at the soccer game. We have to just come back gently and with curiosity and kindness, just like we would with that puppy. So
love that. So good. So Serena, for people listening that they want to learn more about you, about your offerings, potentially the 8-week program, where can people go to find more information about you?
Yeah, thank you. So I have a website and it's just my name, serenajain.com. And I think we can probably put it somewhere.
Yep, absolutely. Okay. I will share it. But for people listening that are, that don't have pen and paper. So, okay. Well, thank you so much for all of this. You've definitely given me renewed inspiration on trying different things. So I appreciate it. And really glad that you've found practice for yourself that works, and then also been able to have this grow and help so many other people. So thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been great. Thank you so much.